you don't have that going on? You all set? Okay, and there's one on the floor behind you, Cooper. All right. I'm going to do a demonstration. I'm going to show you, first of all the setup, the actual slab throwing, rolling, cutting your shapes using a template, and the cleanup. I always forget to leave the cleanup. But, all right, so we will need to have this board.
That's impressive.
All right. This cart is unused clay. At the end of class, or whenever you finish the mission today, where the mission is cutting two shapes, a rectangle and a circle. Unused clay will go in a bag on this cart. This is fresh clay, and this is really the best place to start when you're doing slabs, because it's all been machined, wedged, and milled, so it comes right out of the bag. But before you get clay, everybody wants to get the clay right away. We're excited. The first thing you need to do is set up your work area. So I'm going to go over here, and this part of the table we have tools that we'll be getting to, but this is really where most of what you need is. You'll need a rolling pin. This one's a really good one. You'll need a ruler. Please don't take plastic rulers from Staples for this. You just use these because they get clay all over. A couple of dowels. I'll show you what the use of that is. We're using these for a template for the circle. Okay? The bottom. We're using these for the template for the rectangle. We have a couple of options for cutting tools. We have the needle, and we have the fettling knife. And let me stress that these are for cutting the clay, not for writing. And I'm going to take a rib tool. Okay? You also might want to have a mat, so I'm taking a mat. Everything is going to my work area. Now, a couple people may need to share some of these tools because we might not have enough for every single individual to have. Just a little note about this clay. It's terracotta. It's earthenware. Fires low temp. And I will be cutting pieces of clay for everybody to use. And because of condensation, there's a little bit of extra moisture on this. All right, wire tool. I'm going to be generous with it because I don't want anybody to come up short. Meaning, roll out a slab and then find it's not big enough. Okay? So initially, I would put this big square slab of clay. You can see there's no bubbles in it or anything. And start to roll back and forth, applying equal pressure. It's a good idea to, in process, turn it over, doing both sides. Again, that helps to make it consistent. It also helps it not to be so stuck to whatever surface you started with. So you sort of want to spread the clay out. Okay? And so the rib tool, you can see that there's some bumpiness on there. If I was done, I could smooth that out by using this tool to smooth it. It also works to compress the clay, which is good to do. But another way to stretch the clay, and I usually don't use the mat for this part, is called throwing. But it's not throwing like over our head, down, slapping it on the table. Remember, this is a very gentle, supple material that doesn't need a lot of aggression. It's a very, if you stay calm, it'll be okay. Relax and gently, and sometimes I do a whole sweeping motion with my arm. One thing I would say, too, while I'm at it, we don't sit down on the job with this. It's really important to be over your clay and be in much better control of it. And because I can see this is a little thicker than this side, I'm going to return it to the mat. And I know I need to have a big slab big enough to cut these two shapes. And I want to keep it, try to be as consistent as possible. Now, not putting my weight on the roller, but gently applying equal pressure, trying to control. Ideally, I wish we had rollers this big, really long ones, but we can work with this. All right, stretching and stretching. But, all right, so what happens if my clay is a little thin on one side and thick on the other? I'm going to show you how you can correct that. Taking your, I want to smooth that out. Actually, I think I will flip it one more time. Okay, that's good. All right, and I'm going to cut the rectangle. Try to position the rectangle so that it's in a good spot, meaning you don't want it to be at the edge, Michael, over here where it's really thin and not as good. So find a good area on your slab. I think this is the best part. Because cutting these two shapes is really going to help, doing it a good job right at this point is going to make all the difference. If you do not use this tool at a 90-degree angle, you're going to bevel the edge. And beveling means that it's going to be angled, all right? So 90 degrees. Also, if I try to cut against this paper, it's too flimsy. I want it there to show me where I want to cut, but the ruler is your straight edge that you can cut against. 90 degrees and cut. And go right across. Okay? Carefully, calmly. I like that. Keep calm and carry on. It really is. If you're uptight working with clay, try to fight with it, try to force it. All right? And I see students doing this. They try to get that shape out of there. And it's much easier if you remove what's around it, because even by trying to pull this up, you can begin to mangle up your slab. So you can see the thickness. Michael, Alex. All right, you want the correct thickness. Because when you form it, you want it to be perfect. I will have a board all set up, and at this point you bring it over, put on the class board, and we just write your initials very lightly, like that. I had a couple of students who started to, scratch in, and I was like, wish you didn't do that. Doing the circle. Let's just say, for example, though, I had a slab that was a little, I don't even need to, you guys get the idea that again, with the best 90 degrees. Let's say that my slab was thicker on one side than the other. These two dowels, I can place them on either side, and these have a diameter of a good thickness. Diameter, that word. So putting them on either side of the slab is like, I think kind of like the bowling alley with those bumpers, keep the balls from going in the gutter. And you can see that the rolling pin will not go any lower than those two dowels. See that, Riley? Okay, just making sure you're with me. And then, you want to make sure everything's perfect, as good as you can make it. 90 degrees, bottom of the cup. I'd rather you have a larger circle that you can trim away than one that is too small and is going to make a really skinny cup. Okay, again, it's easier if you do that and gently. I mean, you really have to. So careful. All right? All right, clean up. Extra unused clay. Roll it. Try to put it back into kind of a homogeneous mass because we don't need to have all little bits. And we'll have a bag. We don't have it right now. But we're going to have a bag for unused clay here. All the tools will be returned. And let's say that, you know, there's little chunks of clay on the table. At the end of class, one person could just take this tool, or the side of the ruler works well too, except that, and sometimes it makes a noise that can bother people. This just to scrape up, you know, the scrap clay and bring it into your hand and over to the barrel. Where's my barrel? And there you go. I don't need that. ShamWow with a damp cloth, Thomas, the table so that they're pristine clean. And if you have extra time, by all means, start working in your sketchbook on more ideas. You could get laptops if you want to look something up, whatever, what have you. Return all the tools properly, and that's about it. 4 people at a table, okay? I'd rather you work on these big tables because they're nice height and everything. And I'm going to cut up this clay so when you have all your tools, one person can take all of this, and I'm going to cut up slabs